Today we're looking at something a little bit special. Instead of looking at a high elo player or breaking down some pro guide or showing you guys the most optimal tips or play styles, positioning, all that kind of good stuff, we will do the exact opposite. We will take a look at a 500 SR, some of the lowest bronze player that I have ever coached, and how he plays Genji, and also get a little bit of a glimpse into, especially for those of you who don't private coach as much as I do and work with bronze players from time to time, get a little bit looking about what the lowest elo of Overwatch actually does look like. Hello my beautiful and lovely gamers, as always, my name is Jonal, and that's what we're taking a look at today. We are taking a look at a 500 SR Genji game here on Gibraltar. The current team composition is he will be playing against a Ryan, Orisa, Ashe, Soldier, Lucius, and Yara, which is a decent team composition for a Genji to play on, especially on a high ground map. It can be a little bit difficult. He's playing with a Soldier, Diva, Moira, Lucio, Zarya combo, which is not ideal, especially with Lucio and Moira, which is like especially difficult when you have two healers with no range and you play Genji who likes to play off angling the main group. Then again, this is bronze. A lot of the Furies doesn't actually go into bronze, and I want to take a look at the following things with this mod. I will not be focusing a lot on aim, and I will be focusing very little of his ability management. And that's because, one, it's not very difficult. Like, why would you watch this video if it's just me pointing out that a 500 SR player doesn't have good aim? It is kind of obvious. And the same with ability management. I'll be talking a little bit about it, but what I rather want to talk about, so this also becomes, one, a little bit funny, but also a little bit more educational, is positioning and claiming space to become active. So how can a bronze player become active? And even more so, how can he abuse low elo positioning and how those games are played to just dominate? And this can be scaled up by adding a little bit more awareness, but a lot of this work in gold, in silver, even in platinum, a lot of this works the same. Also talk a little bit about target prioritization and a little bit about when to go for kills, which I know some gold and platinum players that I've recently been working with also have been struggling with. So I think actually this is, even though this is a elo that majority of the player base are not in, it is still, after I've coached, hundreds individual, this is still something that persists throughout a lot of other games. Of course, before the video starts, if you would like to like the video, it helps promote it. My Overwatch video, for some reason, I've been doing really shit lately. Is the content garbage? I don't know. But it's been doing pretty poorly lately. So a like on the video, hopefully it's get promoted more. Same goes for dropping a comment, subscribing to the channel, of course, always appreciate it. We hit 20,000 subscribers, and this is your last warning to enter the giveaway that my staff set up. So my Discord staff, head over to the Discord server, set up a giveaway as we hit 20,000. If you go to our Discord server and you go in the hashtag giveaway channel and you post a heart, only once of course, you enter the giveaway, and you will essentially be able to get in on potentially winning a copy of Overwatch and 200 OWL tokens, again generously donating by our Discord staff, which is amazing. They took initiative in doing this without me even having to react to it, which is just awesome. So join our Discord community. Hopefully you get another Overwatch account, or you can give it to a friend or something like that, and you get 200 OWL tokens on top of that, so you can buy some pretty good looking Overwatch Sleek skins. Buy the Dallas Fuel ones, because in my opinion the Dallas Fuel Genji is just clean as fuck. Anyway, let's talk about this kind of stuff. Of course, again, if you want to support the channel financially, you want to rank up, improve, and get better game, you can of course hire me as a private coach. It's 50 euros for a 2-hour session. Just hit me up in a DM on our Discord server. We can set something up to help you improve, rank up fast, and hit those goals that you want to hit. But let's really just begin. I think normally, I like to do a lot like breakdown theory here in Step Banana. I like to kind of show around how stuff is. But today I actually think that we will start by just watching the VOD, as that is the interesting. Again, this is the team composition that he's playing with. This is what he's playing against. Remember that we are red team, so all thing that are blue shields is our opponents. Now he will start down here, and this is this is like very, very, very normal of low elos. Notice where the opposing side is playing. They are playing down here at the corner. And notice where our team is playing. They are still in the spawn. And they will be rushing out this lower gate here, which will be pressured and spammed and whatnot. And struggle to push. A lot of the reason that a lot of low elo players struggle to push, and this also goes for gold, which you probably, if you've ever been in gold, you probably know that pushing through choke points can be... you almost have to fight with your team to get them to push. A lot of it is that people don't know how to use proper cover. They will run out here in the open and fight here in the open, take a lot of damage, hide, push out into the open, take a lot of damage, hide, and so on. Logically, when you're playing against something like this, what you want to do is you want to close the gap by using the payload, by using these walls to close up on these guys, and then drop whatever shield, use your abilities as you guys are pushing. So you want to pressure these guys out and using cover as you're moving up instead of just running out in the open. And for us as a Genji player, that goes exactly the same. Normally, we like to start in the top, and normally, especially when I play Genji, I don't like running out before my team goes, because it's so common for people to spam the doors here on Gibraltar. But again, one of the good things you can do with a Genji is you can go here, jump, and then you can quickly, easily get to this wall, which of course, one, blocks off this line of sight to this team, and also grants us access to currently fighting the soldier, quickly climbing, challenging the Ashe, killing her. As you can see, she's quite alone. Of course, she can go down to low ground, but that's one of the things that's really fun with low elo, and you will see this, how hilariously it is. The awareness of these players are not very high, so you can shoot them in the back and they won't notice. One other thing, Carniato, or the Genji that we're coaching. He's actually a student of mine. If you want to, you know, submit your own VOD and you want to kind of participate and potentially be reviewed in a future video, remember that when a new patch comes, they will delete the VODs to submit a new one if that happens. Go to a Discord server, there's something called coaching submissions. But this VOD doesn't come from there. This comes from a private coaching session that I had, and I asked him if I could use a VOD of him in an upcoming video to show what low elos look like. Because again, I think it's very educational, very fun to see how stuff kind of comes looks compared to even something like plat. Since that coaching session, so since this VOD was recorded, he has gained like over 1,000 SR after one session. He's way fucking better than what he is mechanically, game sense wise, positioning. Of course, then he had a private session with me, but he has been done a really good job individually. Again, I can educate as much as I want, but it's a lot of time up to the individual players to take initiative to improve, and he has clearly done that. He's gained over 1,000 SR, he's climbing, he's really doing good, he has a fucking highest win rate right now without any follow-up sessions, which we probably will have in the future. So just when you look at this Genji, this is probably a couple of weeks ago, and by then he's gained over 1,000 SR. So just so you have aware to know how quickly you actually can improve at this game. It's crazy. Anyway, here you're gonna stand, and this is like some of the stuff, right? So again, instincts is like, oh, I shouldn't be pushing, just damage, whatever. Pops might deflect. But if you don't push here, they just keep their distance, right? So here you want to push, here you want to advance, right? You want to claim space as much as possible, right? So you don't get in here. Logically as well, path left here, use the cover, don't run out here where this Ashe gets a lot of free shots. This is also one of the things that is difficult to see if you're in low elo, because you can see how he crossed and took barely any damage because the opposing side can't aim. So this is one of those things that's actually difficult to learn, because one, closing the gap is kind of weird, because there's a lot of time it's counterproductive, or not counterproductive, but a lot of people just don't think about claiming space and pushing up when there's a bunch of enemies, as they're not sure if they will die or not. And two, crossing here like this, notice how he doesn't really take any damage because the enemy team can't aim and can't hit him. So it is very difficult to actually learn if you're doing bad or wrong. This is logically, he's flanked in the shoulder here, fine. This is completely okay. Actually good synergy with your diva. And this is like stuff that you should notice when you're playing games. And this happens so much in gold and plat and even diamond, where people don't do this. Here he's by accident, because he didn't know his diva was going here, there's no coordination. But by accident, he's using the damage of a diva. Notice that when he come up here, the soldier's almost already dead, which is great because he helps finishing off the soldier. Good headshots, like actually really, that's like, I think it was 2 shuriken headshots, which is actually pretty fucking insane for somebody in bronze. But he's using the damage of his D.Va to get an easy kill, and that's what we want to do. Even in like GM, we do the same thing. We use the damage of our team to get the fastest kill possible on the map, so we get a numbers advantage, instead of trying to solo kill all the time if it's not necessary. He's gonna go here. Logically, you can just boycott a lot of this. Instead of, again, using here, you have some cover and so on, it's fine. But logically, you can just jump up here, and now you kind of have a little bit easier access to stuff like the Zenyatta and so on. And also, so you're circumventing the shield a little bit. Logically, a lot of time balancing on these corners can work. You're using actually natural cover to block off this LOS, but you're stuck shielding shields, and that's not something that we want, right? We want to deal physical health damage, so we build Dragon Blades, so we apply pressure and so on. Here he drops. I do believe it's on accident, but he kind of just rolls with the flow. And actually pretty good usage of natural cover, something that you don't see a lot in low elos. And this is where target prioritization comes into play. Here, logically, you don't want to... You can't go for the Zenyatta, especially in low elos. That is, of course, something that you can do. But instead of spending a lot of time kind of like trying to close this gap over here, which you, again, could do if you wanted, applying pressure to the tanks could be so much better, because you can notice how shit this position is, right? This Ryan is feeding. If you go behind him as a Genji, or you go to this high ground, you dash them, you can kill this Ryan with your team. Like, you can apply so much pressure, it's so difficult for him to get out. And if he gets out, then you can do the same thing for the Orisa. That's why this position is never played in high elos, or never is wrong. Like, you play dive here a lot, but with these two immobile tanks, if you get to push them to here, they don't have any more corners to fall back to. So if you push their shields or you break their shields, like, they can run down the tunnel into car wash, but it doesn't help. There's still no cover here. Then they have to play in here, and it becomes the same dilemma. You push that, and then they're stuck without anything, and their team, of course, can't stand behind their shields in here. So it becomes this weird thing that your high ground is vulnerable. Your tanks, while they are contesting their objective, if they get pushed or you apply any form of pressure, they will immediately start losing, and you have control over this high ground, so you can either dive these guys, who's alone, and can't get helped by the rest of these guys, or you can just apply pressure to the main group, collapsing that however you want, right? Like, you can take more angles than they can deny. So it's relatively easy to do stuff like that. Here you try to do some follow-up on the Lucio. As soon as he gets out and you see, okay, this is not winnable, I'm not killing this, remember that Lucios are very difficult to kill. You can always look at go and bully this Ryan, right? This is a free kill onto the Ryan, and then your team can actually push up. Going for these solo kills can work if you have the mechanics and you're in low elos, you know, where they don't punish. But remember that here you are, if this was a higher elo, let's say you're playing Platinum and you stack on Platinum, you go for this play. He should be full health. First of all, this should not happen. This is because this guy doesn't have the awareness to heal him, right? Which shouldn't happen. That's you getting, you know, it's great to abuse this in bronze, but you can get this kill much faster and allow your team to push up instead of having to 1v3, which is essentially what would happen if this was Platinum, right? You would have to 1v3 in this position, which is not what you want. You rather want to just kill the Ryan, push up, kill the Orisa, and then chain onto these guys with the D.Va, and then you can kind of just snowball that instead of being forced to fight all these players. He doesn't spot the Ash, and I want to point out this thing with the Sen, because he has very, very common aim issues, which is like constantly moving the mouse and just constantly holding down the fire button, having absolutely no aim control. You can see how he's like shooting around the Genji, right? Here he's on him, and then he flicks to the, like he was on him, and then he just kept moving to the right, shooting like here, when he just previously hit him, which is always fun. Rotation, burns to deflect, and then we chase the kill. Remember that this kill is not, you don't need to chase this kill. He's backing off and leaving, so when he backs off, there's no Sen here. So instead of chasing one kill, risking yourself, putting yourself out of position, you could rather kill 4 players with your team, right? Notice that the team can't push here. This is what DPSs are for. The DPS can off angle around the shields and deal a lot of damage to tanks, forcing them to back off so your team can advance. Here comes the dreaded Mei. You kind of put yourself in a spot where you lose that. Like, even if you are a high elo player, because you wasted your dash earlier, right, you lose that. Even if, like, she just freezes you. You have to, like, headshot her and burst her before she can freeze you, which is very, very difficult. Actually a decent spot to stand in, except that you were standing on low ground and therefore was peaked by the opposing side. So if you had like stand here instead, on this ledge, or even better logically on the high ground, that would have just done the exact same thing. The only thing you would have used cover. But besides that, it was actually good, that's good target prioritization. The Ryan overextends and you tried to punish it. I would have dived him there if I were you, because again, notice how if you dive him here, you get to deal damage behind him, and there's not really anybody protecting him currently. Right? So you can dive this guy and kill him. And of course, because we're Genji and if we're very scared of the Mei, how do you counterplay Mei in low elos? You just climb. You use high grounds because she can't reach her on high grounds. And then she's forced to aim, which if you're playing like silver and gold is very inconsistent for her. So play high grounds all the time because high grounds are so safe, right? You can stand on top of the opposing side if you're on a high ground. Like you can stand, if you were Genji and you stood here, right? You would get smacked by the Ryan. But if you stand here, you don't, right? So you can stand on top of them just because you have an elevation where majority of the teams can't do anything. Like, look at this. Sen can shoot you at range, but you can always, like, unhide. You can always back off the high ground or drop from the high ground if you want. The Mei can't do anything because you're on high ground, so she can only ice spike you. She can't, like, freeze you like this. It's kind of fun how she's missing her ice freeze. Sigma can't do anything. He can lob some orbs, but that's it. Ryan can't do anything. Ash can take a high ground to challenge you, but you have the advantage that you can dash her. Let's see, here comes the Blade. Missing a little bit of the swings, getting bullied a little bit, so that's fine. Again, that's just mechanic. Try not to hold down the swing button, rather click the swing button. That's like a common mistake, even for some Diamond Genji. Some Diamond Genji just hold down the swing button of the Blade, click it. If you click it, you can like swing so you hit, so you don't have to like, you swing, you miss, and then he comes into your screen, but now there's like a cast time cooldown because you have a limited swing speed, so now you can't really swing, and so on and so on. This is also what I like to call the inconsistencies of playing in low elo, where the Ryan is about to fire strike, the Genji is like, okay, yeah, I'll deflect that, and the Ryan misses the fire strike, which kind of is like 2000 IQ, because now you didn't get to deflect damage at him, but it's, clearly on. It's funny. It's fun how the mechanical misses of your opposing side can actually cuck a good play. Like, it seems like if you play in bad widows and you deflect, and it's not that they don't shoot the deflect, they just miss you as you're standing with the deflect. So deflecting bullets back at low elo widows can actually be more inconsistent if you have the mechanics, of course, than they can in high elos. That's a really nice play. You dived in, you got the kill. The only thing that can be improved here is, again, instead of running in a straight line here, right, where you can imagine you running in a straight line, the Sen lines up shots, the Sigma lines up shots, the Lucio lines up shots and hits you. Instead of doing that, you immediately path here, take a high ground, path here, take a high ground, and then do the exact same push. You just do it from this high ground. And that way, it's so much more difficult for them to deal with you. And trust me, in low elos, we've seen the awareness of some of these players. But even in lower elos like that, like I say, not lower elos, but in other low elos like gold and platinum, they still won't a lot of time punish you for it, or very few people will. So you will take a high ground, and they will essentially have to choose shoot your team or shoot you. And a lot of times they will choose shooting a team because there's more players there, and by default they will just do that. In low elos especially, it's so nice to take high ground because people don't punish off angling. Like you leave, you play around your team so you can still fight with your team, so you can still follow your team. But while you're playing, around your team, you're not standing right where they are. You're not standing, behind your own Ryan, because then it becomes very natural for the opposing side to shoot at you and hitting you with all kinds of random spam. Hey, you're blading, and you're gonna get some nice kills. Follow up onto the graviton, which is actually great to see. You're sorry at grabbing, you blading, kind of getting that combo in, which is nice. Here you can just play aggressive. You win this. You have won this team fight. You have your entire team with you, right? We chase these guys. You get some more Dragon Blade charge, which is what you want. You chase them, and this is also where it's scary for them to do that in low elos, but in high elos, it's natural because you can constantly use the payload and use walls to make yourself difficult to hit. You chase this, you build up ult charge, and then if you always make sure that you go from one cover to the next cover, you're normally good. So from here, here you were chasing a Kree, of course, but instead, let's say that you're not trying to kill the Kree, right? What a lot of people will do if you can't dash him is just run after him, right? So instead you have two options here. You either go back to payload, or you off angle all the way over here. That's like your 2 positions. Of course, you can also go here and climb to this high ground and then play that high ground. But all these 3 move you to cover, right? Cover, 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 right? There's cover at all these locations where you can just play, and you can choose to peek them or you can not choose to peek them. That's kind of a little bit up to you. And again, once again, notice how easily it is to punish low elo positioning, right? 1 staggers, which are huge, right? Like if you kill this hog, right? Notice this. These 2 guys, they died, so they're just like pushing out. Even though your team is very clearly on the payload. I think I messed up. I hate it when I do that. I do it all the time. Yeah, so right here. There we go, sorry about that. So, the hog is still here, and he didn't get killed, which you guys should just have chased and killed him, right? That way you would have another stagger, because the Korean, the Lucio, just ran at the payload. Didn't care. They just ran at the payload, and Lucio actually left the Kree, but they just ran at the payload without the rest of the team. You killed this guy, you killed that guy, you had already killed the hog, that's 3 players, then you killed the Ash, because he's pushing too fast, then you killed the Sigma, because he's on his way to push, right? And then you just keep staggering them. So if you keep spamming and you keep kind of if you keep spamming and keep attacking their team, it's pretty easy for you to keep them just dying and keeping them down in numbers if you keep attacking their spawn and pushing them constantly, because they will just leave their spawn without thinking about it. And this is very common if you play in like platinum or gold. This is also a very common technique to just abuse the ignorance of the opposing side, where they don't use positioning correctly, right? So they'll fight like here, out in the open, right? Where Moira's ultimate gives max value. They'll be playing outside of cover, and they'll constantly just be leaving their spawn, not looking at their numbers, not regrouping. You're probably, if you ever played in Platinum yourself, you've probably been on the receiving end, where you die last in a team fight, and then your team, like, as you're respawning, your team is already starting to push with players down. And it becomes just this, like, then they die, and then you die, and then they die, and then you never really regroup into a full push. It's very, very common in low elos. And it's also why I always tell people to just die fast if you're in lower elos, because you don't want to stagger. Here, it's great that you're trying to play the payload, but again, stuff like this, you get hit by a random dynamite that wasn't meant for you. I want you guys to just push, 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 push here. Claim high ground, claim space, keep pushing into response all the time. That's like the important parts. Here you are backing off a little bit, doing some stuff. Once again, imagine if instead of fighting here, right, you can play on top of this crate, and you can do the exact same thing to the Winston without being a risk of taking damage here, without being risk of getting hooked. Now the hog is so far away, right? But if he was closer, without the risk of getting hooked as easily, you can play the ledge of this, so you can kind of climb up and down to duck certain damage, right? And it wouldn't reduce your effectiveness, because you can still dash in and kill this monkey, right? The difference between you killing the monkey is not here or here. That's not the difference between getting that kill. So I want, push here, claim that space. Good headshots. He actually has pretty good mechanics for a 500 SR player. Believe it or not, like he has incredibly high headshot rate, and if you notice his crosshair placement, it's here. That's very like I know gold and plats, and even some diamond players, they have the crosshair way down here and shoot in like this height at the feet of the opposing side. The fact that a 500 SR player has to like here and actually land by default some headshots onto tanks is incredible. Like, I cannot even stress how impressive that is, because that never happens. And his tracking is also kind of clean. What he does is sometimes he aims like this is like, that's some clean tracking. Same with here, you miss a couple of shots. Struggle a little bit with the rotation where you pull the mouse down. That's very, very common to pull mouse down when you're rotating around. But a lot of time, like, you can see that he managed to keep his crosshair on his target. It's just that sometimes he will have it on his target, and kind of like the Sen earlier, he will like move it off the target. This is what I like to call a bronze shitfest, where everything is just going to hell. Remember that the dash of your Dragon Blade is very similar to your original dash, right? We don't use, see it like this, right? Get some good shots. The original dash is used, right, to close to deal that extra dash damage to 50, and then you can close the gap and do a melee for 30, right? So you have that consistent burst. But, right, there was good headshots onto the monkey. But one of the other reasons that we use dash, and the most important, right, is that we close the gap. Genji is most efficient in close range because his bullets are super, super slow, and he wants to do consistent right-click damage where he can consistent hit 3 right clicks to the body or double to the head, right? He wants that. So Stuff like this is a really powerful position, right? Currently, you're flanking, and I just want to show you guys this. Right, for example, here, you don't need to dash the Ashe right now. Like, you just need to deal enough damage to here that you can just dash and close the gap. And same with this Zenyatta. You don't need to dash the Zenyatta right now. You can poke him and then dash him. You don't need to always dash the target at the beginning, because the whole point is just to close the gap. Now, if you're 90% sure that you will get the kill if you close that gap. So, for example, I would say I would be 90% sure that I can kill a Sen out in the open with no support structure, right? So then you can just dash him, because then it's faster, right? Because then you don't have to deal with poking from range, taking him low, and then finishing him off. But you don't have to, as soon as you see a target, just dash it if you want to kill it, because then you're selling yourself short, right? Instead of, for example, if you dash this Ashe immediately, then she might just coach gun and close the gap, and now there's a gap again, and now you have to play left click Euro and try to poke her down and finish her off, which is very inconsistent. But as she doesn't see you, you poke her, you make her low, and then you dash her and then you finish her off. Then she can't use her coach gun to escape you. And she might coach gun earlier, but then you can just run after, close that gap, and dash to finish, right? So don't sell yourself short by burning the dash immediately, right? You're limiting your options. And again, this is just amazing. Not paying attention at all, like, I'm dying here. And again, here, for example, right, this is also one of those scenarios where you could just have lined up the headshots to the head and just dashed in, but whatever, right? Like, I love it. So much so that I was like trying to make like a, same with here, like stuff like that, right? Like he probably thought that he could finish if he did the melee stuff, right? But you didn't need to dash there. You could just right click the entire time. I also want to notice how the Sen panics and just keeps shooting. And this is very, very common. Again, you keep spamming because you're so scared. You're so scared. And you don't have control of your characters. That's why I always say, always click your shots. Always tap every ability. Do stuff with reasoning. Because here it is that you're not sure what's going on. You don't have control. You're not comfortable. So you just hit every button possible to, like, just drop as much at them, right? Throw everything, including the kitchen sink at them. And hopefully something sticks, right? So notice how he goes when he takes damage here, right? He just keeps, like, shooting walls. And he's very, unaware. It also seems like he's lagging a little bit of what's going on. And he doesn't know, so he just keeps shooting, hoping that he will finish something off. This is stuff like that, right? Double 2 right clicks with headshots only on the Winston. Here you finish off the Rhyme with your team. Here you actually pull a Blade and you get the Lucio, which is really good. Up close, didn't actually burn the dash, just went up, pulled it, swung twice. Very, very uncommon, actually. A lot of people just would have dashed there. And logically, if he swung, dashed, and swung again, 1, mechanics, he might miss and fuck up everything. And 2, the Lucio can push him away, and now there's a gap, and then the Lucio can amp speed wall ride away from him and stuff like that. So, actually, not dashing there is great. Right, we only dash with a vanilla blade up close and stuff like that to make ourselves difficult to hit. But in low elo, that's not necessary. For the majority of the time, they don't have the mechanics in a way to punish you if you're just like running normally at them and swinging and only using dash once again to kind of close that gap. I don't think we really need to watch more of this. So again, I want to thank for the submission of the VOD and allowing me to kind of review this. I hope you guys found this educational and somewhat entertaining, at least to watch. How once again they died to the Bob because they don't know how to use cover and they don't have the awareness of the Bob. So he gets like a 4k, 5k, 6k. Is the Bob actually? He almost team wiped them. But as always, guys, like the video, comment, subscribe down below. All that is very much appreciated. Submit your VODs on the Discord server. Link down in the description. Under the channel coaching submissions. You want to rank up, improve, and get better at the game, hire me as your private coach. It's 50 euros for 2 hour session. But besides that, please do take care of yourselves, stay positive. I love you guys very, very much. Wear a mask, tell somebody that you love them. As always, keep the enemy in your crosshairs.